Hello and welcome to our Politics and Action question and answer session on the Philippines with Dr. Jean Encinas Franco from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. If you haven't had a chance to watch Jean's video from last week, which gives a great overview of the current political situation in the Philippines at the moment, you can head over to the Sydney Southeast Asia Centre's Facebook page or our YouTube page to watch that. Thank you so much, Jean, for making some time to answer
My
these
pleasure.
today. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to jump straight in with these questions, and these questions were emailed in from viewers who watched your video last week. The first one reads, in your presentation, you spoke about politics and Duterte's regime through a gender lens. With Duterte playing so strongly into gendered ideals of a strong leader, has this had any ramifications for gender relations at the local level? For example, are we seeing a rise in gender-based violence in the day-to-day lives of Filipinos?
Actually, it's difficult to assess the link, mainly because the data that the government has would always be the data that's reported. So, and we all know that gender-based violence, in terms of gender-based violence, there are people who really don't report. So there's a lot of there that's hidden. But then my sense is that the extent to which it sort of normalizes this type of violence is there. And I've never seen it. What I mean is that it's kind of infectious in the sense that prior to this administration, we don't see public officials giving out misogynist remarks, sexist remarks, but now it seems to be normalized among public officials.
My next question for you, Jean, is around the migrant workers from the Philippines, and tell us more about the ramifications of the coronavirus pandemic on migrant workers in the region and how it might impact their rights.
It's unfortunate because there are more than 10 million Filipino migrant workers all over the world in more than 200 countries and territories. And they've been very much affected by the pandemic in the sense that they're discriminated against in their host countries as well as in the Philippines when they are repatriated. There's even report of a local town that refused to host migrant repatriates for fear that they might also contract coronavirus. Frontliners, the Philippines is one of the world's largest exporters of nurses, and they are frontliners in the UK, in the United States, and in Canada. We've heard a lot of reports about their deaths, and it's really unfortunate. The response is that the Philippine government has tried early April, March or April, to issue a travel ban against health workers who will leave abroad. Not only to protect the health workers from the pandemic, but also to ensure that there's enough supply of health workers in the country. But then the Philippine Nurses Association and a lot of migrant groups have actually protested against it, saying that it's a violation of their freedom to travel and to seek work. So the government issued a clarification by saying that they're just banning, or they're allowing those who already have contracts to work abroad. So they're allowing them to leave. But for now, there's a temporary ban on health workers who don't have contracts yet.
Okay, Jean, my next question here also relates to the pandemic at the moment. In these times of pandemic lockdown, what strategies are people adopting to draw attention to government failings or controversial policies? How do you think these new forms of protest will influence political engagement in the future of the Philippines?
That's a great question. In as much that in as much as the Duterte administration has, since 2016, has used, for instance, social media to sort of legitimize and expand its support, people during the pandemic has sort of doubled or tripled their activism, or what I would call netizenship, on social media and and various platforms online. They've created memes, viral memes. For instance, the fact that amelioration program, or the subsidy for poor families, have not been adequately implemented. Some have not received the subsidy. They've, time and again, relentlessly, the public, the netizens have issued protests via Facebook, Twitter, and I mean the government, I would say, has been listening to these protests online, because they've also subsequently issued reassurance. And Duterte, for instance, I mean, even if the press conferences have been somehow incoherent and sort of lacking in clarity and direction, have periodically issued press conferences. So I would say that they're listening. But last May 1, it's Labor Day in the Philippines. Some militant groups have actually launched physical protests, but they've, of course, been arrested. Of course, observing social. They've also observed social distancing, but it's so they tried to do it, and it also went viral.
And just a quick follow-on question: when they were they arrested for breaching lockdown laws related to
lockdown? That's yeah.
Okay, I've got one final question here. Could you tell us about how the COVID-19 pandemic is exposing and exacerbating inequalities in the Philippines, for example, in access to food, shelter, and healthcare?
Yeah, the Philippines has time and again underinvested in health. Health expenditure per capita is among the lowest in the world, and the out-of-pocket expenditure of Filipinos is still very huge. And it means to say that a lot of people may be sick but may not be reporting. While poverty has actually decreased, as I reported, now it's only 16.6% of the population, the middle class has not really expanded. And so what this means is that even if income is increasing, people don't have surplus income for health expenditures. So it's affecting people in more ways than one. In terms of public services, the fact that we don't have, for instance, some form of an ID system to categorize, demographic profile of our citizens, it's difficult to target people to support, no, or to be subsidized by the government. So it has led to chaos in terms of implementation of our own version of subsidy and support to those who have been affected by the pandemic.
And has the government offered an excuse or a reason for that welfare not getting to the people who really need it?
Well, they say that they've been saying that there has been a delay in the release of funds. There are also local government units who are saying that their data is not yet very good, and that that's their explanation.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Jean. And with that, that's my last question for you. So thank you so much for making time to to answer these, and also for being a part of the Sydney Southeast Asia Centre's Politics and Action virtual event for 2020.
Thank you too for this opportunity.
Great. And if you haven't had a chance to watch Jean's video, like I mentioned at the beginning, you can head over to the Sydney Southeast Asia Centre's Facebook page or our YouTube channel to view that. And while you're there, you can watch some of the country updates from other parts of the region. We've got updates for Malaysia, Laos, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Myanmar up there. So please do check them out, and thank you so much for watching.